Ito na yata ang pinaka-attack on the independence of the judiciary and our democratic ideals. Sana po, yun ang wish ko, na ipashowcase na yan si Lorraine Badoy at kung may ebidensya, contempt na siya. Yung contempt naman po, pwedeng 6 months ng kulong, pwedeng multa. Kaya sila namimihasa Wala silang takot. Ito lahat ng ito, mga pasakalye ni Lorraine Badoy, lahat yun was to create a climate of fear, to create a chilling effect on the lawyers and judges na hindi rightist kagaya nila, para to create a culture of right-wing fanatics. Yan ang problema dito, dahil hindi ito isolated case na si Lorraine Badoy lang. Siya lang ang spokeswoman nila. Pero ibig sabihin yung mga taong sa likuran niya. Pero mo pa naman, sasabihin pa nila, kung bombahin namin kayo, maging lenient din kayo sa amin. At pantapang-tapang mo. Baka naman umaasa ka, appoint ka pa ni BBM. Kaya ka ganyan ka. Abay, kung ako si BBM, di kita appoint. Bakit? Bad news ka na nga
From the nation's capital, all sides, all the time, I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Sean Yao. The big story tonight.
Lawyers are condemning the red tagging of Manila RTC Judge Malagar after she dismissed the petition to declare the CPP and NPA as terrorist groups.
The Supreme Court itself warned that inciting violence against judges would be considered contempt of the High Court. Marlene Alcaide with the big story.
UP lawyers and students gathered at the UP College of Law building to denounce the attacks of Lorraine Badoy, former spokesperson of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, against Judge Malagar. Recall that Judge Malagar of Manila RTC Branch 19 junked the government's prescription case asking to declare the Communist Party of the Philippines and its armed wing, the New People's Army, as terrorist organizations. Among the lawyers speaking up against the red tagging of Malagar is former COMELEC Commissioner Guanzon.
Ito na yata ang pinaka-attack on the independence of the judiciary and our democratic ideals. Sana po, yun ang wish ko, na ipashowcase na yan si Lorraine Badoy at kung may ebidensya, contempt na siya. Yung contempt naman po, pwedeng 6 months ng kulong, pwedeng multa. Kaya sila namimihasa Wala silang takot. At pantapang-tapang mo. Baka naman umaasa ka, appoint ka pa ni BBM. Kaya ka ganyan ka. Abay, kung ako si BBM, di kita appoint. Bakit? Bad news ka na nga
Guanzon stressed not everyone who disagrees with the government's position are automatically communists.
Ito lahat ng ito, mga pasakalye ni Lorraine Badoy, lahat yun was to create a climate of fear, to create a chilling effect on the lawyers and judges na hindi rightist kagaya nila.
Guanzon even challenged Badoy to a debate.
Dito ka makipagdebate sa akin sa UP. O kung gusto mo sa UE, sige, huwag mo tatawaging NPA, CPP, Cuddler. Kaya nagpaganda ako ngayon
Even the Supreme Court didn't take this lightly. The Supreme Court tackled motu proprio the issue and warned that inciting violence against judges could be considered contempt of the High Court. In a TV program, Badoy said she takes full cognizance of what the Supreme Court has said. She said she is happy that the issue reached the Supreme Court and that she is grateful for their guidance. But Badoy believes that she was merely taken out of context, alleging that she was misquoted by CPP propagandists over a Facebook post where she seemingly threatened the life of Judge Malagar. In a now-deleted Facebook post, Badoy accused Malagar of being a friend and defender of the CPP-NPA. She started off her post with the phrase, "So if I kill this judge." Still, Badoy tells her supporters to support the SC statement on the matter. For News 5, Marlene Alcaide, we are One News.
To discuss this further, we have with us on the show P3PWD Party List Representative and former COMELEC Commissioner Rowena Guanzon. She's joining us live via Zoom. Commissioner Guanzon, welcome to The Big Story.
Magandang gabi po. Salamat.
Magandang gabi po. Sabi nga ng Supreme Court, stern warning. Pero hanggang doon na lang po ba to? And hanggang saan po, ano pong hantungan nitong stern warning nito? Will it actually lead to charges against Badoy?
Well, the Supreme Court has motu proprio on its own already issued this warning, and that should not be taken lightly. I think there is a possibility that Lorraine Badoy Partosa will be ordered to show cause why she should be cited, why she should not be cited in contempt, because this is a very serious matter where the independence of the judiciary and the safety of the judges and their families, loved ones, is at stake also. So I don't think the Supreme Court will really take this lightly. And if Lorraine Badoy thinks madided man niya ito, kunyari pa siya, thankful siya sa Supreme Court for taking recognition of this issue. Masyado. Ang arte mo! You cannot do that to the judges and threaten to kill them and call them tanga, and then now ikaw pa ang masaya sa warning ng Supreme Court. Sumusobra na ito si Lorraine Badoy Partosa.
All right, Commissioner Guanzon, let's step back and look at this from a broader perspective. Of course, a lot of judges might be heaving a big sigh of relief right now because the SC issued such a statement against inciting violence against judges, which has been happening, of course, more than we would like it to happen, right? Have you heard of many similar instances where judges have been threatened or killed? I mean, we do hear about these
There's
every day.
another judge who has been threatened. Judge, I believe it is Judge Kisumbing of Mandaluyong. I have appeared before this bright, competent, and mabait judge, no? Kisumbing. And it's not only unfair. It's really a threat. You know, I saw another Facebook comment sent by a friend. This man who agrees with Lorraine Badoy Partosa said, tanga yung mga hurado nyo eh. Imagine calling our judges stupid. The nerve of you to call them stupid when you have not even passed the bar. But Lorraine Badoy and her cohorts have created this climate of invincibility. And they're not only in social media, they're also, they're talking about it among themselves. And she's inciting them to violence. And no lawyer now or judge who will be handling these similar cases will sleep peacefully if this is going to be taken lightly and punished.
Yes, and Commissioner, yung mensahe po ng Supreme Court, loud and clear, and a lot of people really took this as a defense of the court, as a defense of the legal community in general. But as you know, this impunity you're talking about and this climate of violent rhetoric have been used not just against lawyers, not just against judges, especially over the past 6 years. It's been used against civil society, media, human rights defenders.
My friend,
so,
I agree,
but
this is the worst. This is the worst when they can do this to judges. This is the worst when these people think that they can now threaten the independence of the judiciary and in effect interfere with the rule of law.
And that's well understood and appreciated. Pero ang tanong po ng ibang tao is, paano naman kami? What about our sectors? We have been complaining about being red tagged as well. Does the guidance of the Supreme Court give us some guidance as well on how other sectors can handle violent verbal attacks against them?
I think the warning of the Supreme Court is specific as to judges who are being red tagged and maligned, not as to other persons. But as I said, red tagging can fall under other crimes. For example, you are an NGO worker and they red tag you as a communist rebel, and as a result now people are harassing you. If you know the person who uttered these words or published them, you can sue them for libel. You have recourse under the law. But this issue is a stern warning against Badoy and those who are, and her cohorts. And why? Because, I mean, if you can threaten to kill the judges and think that it's okay, by golly, what are you, some kind of what do you think, you're living in a narco country? It's like, it's unbelievable that in a democratic country, these people can just threaten the judges and
Right.
you know,
Commissioner,
and even pretend that they didn't do anything wrong.
right. Commissioner, which brings me to...
Pag kunwari pa siya ngayon na, ay, pasalamat ako sa Supreme Court at, napunarin nila. Siya ito may kasalanan eh. Hindi ba? Tapos ngayon,
All right.
alam nyo, I don't want to, as you can see, this is a personal matter to me because my father retired as RTC judge. Very honest, summa cum laude, competent judge. And my sister just retired as an executive judge. I come from a family of judges and lawyers.
All right. So do you expect, Commissioner, any changes under the current administration from the climate of the previous administration where these kinds of...
Of course, I expect. The trouble is that NTF, whatever ELAC and LAC na yan, may be superfluous already. It was just created because these people wanted to create their own office because maybe they needed, what do you call this, to justify why they were doing all of this anti-communism choo-choo. Golly, you should have been born in the time of Senator McCarthy, not in the 21st century. You know, this task force is already superfluous. I think the President, BBM, should no longer, she should just dissolve this, especially that the country is in the government is in a deficit. That's why I'm glad that Lorraine Badoy is, I read that the OP said that she is not an employee or officer there.
All right, thank you.
She was doing that to create importance eh. Alam mo itong mga taong they want to create self-importance because they want to be, to be in positions of power. Luma na yan eh. Tapos na eh. Tapos na yung Duterte administration. I think the Marcos administration should learn from the errors of the past.
All right. Commissioner, on that note, we have run out of time. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. P3PWD Congresswoman Rowena Guanzon. Thank you. After the break, we'll get some updates from Pag-asa on Tropical Depression Luis and the low-pressure area that has been spotted east of eastern Samar. That and more when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
Russian labor leaders have declared victory in a series of stage-managed UN-condemned referendums as the Kremlin moves to annex a large chunk of occupied Ukraine. The head of the self-styled Donetsk People's Republic posted on Telegram that 99.23% of those polled had voted to join the Russian Federation. A state-owned news agency also reported landslides in the 3 other regions that held votes. Hurricane Ian is poised to become one of the costliest storms in U.S. history as it heads for Florida's western coastline. It's prompted mass evacuations, school shutdowns and flight cancellations across the state, with one estimate that
The forecast for the tech sector is gloom. Most professional investors in a Bloomberg survey expect the next move for tech stocks to be down. They see the NASDAQ 100 as more likely to sink to 10,000 rather than recovering to 14,000. Even so, big losses earlier this year may have exhausted most of the selling. A roughly equal number of respondents say they plan to buy tech shares as sell the shares, while most will sit tight. Here's Bloomberg technology editor Nate Langston.
That gives a sign of stability, but not a sign that anyone is preparing to massively get out of tech or massively jump into it for the first time.
The survey also found investors aren't all that excited about one of the big new technologies, the metaverse.
Vast majority of respondents said that they didn't believe that the metaverse was going to change how they do business or interact with people over the next 2 years, which suggests not only that they are familiar with what the metaverse is, but also that despite knowing what it is, they still don't have confidence in it. The issue I found most interesting in this survey was the answers around the green technology and the potential benefit it will have from the energy crisis. In particular, solar and batteries are going to be of particular interest. Anything that's got exposure to solar panels and charging is going to be beneficial.
Mr. President, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak on all of these issues that we are facing.
Especially when it comes to the global economy, to the Philippine economy, right? The global inflationary picture right now getting worse, prices also across the Philippines rising. What is your government doing to mitigate this?
Well, certainly we have decided, actually, given the choice between defending foreign exchange and trying to remedy the situation of rising interest rates, rising inflation.
You're watching The Big Story here on One News. Some students in Nueva Ecija are forced to revert to distance learning after their schools were damaged by Super Typhoon Karding. Jenny Dongon with the report.
Super Typhoon Karding damaged not only farms but also schools in Nueva Ecija. The Malimba Elementary School in Gapan had its walls toppled and its steel beams and roof blown away by the heavy rain and strong wind. Maria Aurora Santiago, the school principal, says all 17 of their classrooms were totally damaged. Teachers are also doing everything they can to save some learning materials, modules, and other school supplies.
Malungkot, masakit sa dibdib, pero umaasa kami na ito ay maibabangon namin muli.
The school is also looking for an alternative area to conduct face-to-face classes. They are also considering reverting to the use of modules once classes resume on October 5. But since most of the modules and books were soaked in flood water, they're now asking for help from nearby schools. Some have promised to lend them the needed learning materials. Another elementary school just a kilometer away only suffered minor damages. The city engineering office inspected the school today. Engineer Enrique Roberto said materials used for the school were according to standard, based on their assessment.
Kaya naman pong i-sustain, kaya lang po, yung lakas po talaga ng hangin dito po sumentro. Kaya makikita naman po natin, lalo itong gym natin, totally devastated po siya. Hindi na po talaga papakinabangan.
Despite this, the city engineer recommends total demolition of the buildings after it sustained damage from the typhoon. The Education Department says typhoon-affected school can revert to distance learning. Based on DepEd's initial assessment, 20 schools were damaged by Carding's onslaught. The DepEd says 112 million pesos is needed for repairs. For News 5, Jenny Dongon, We Are One News.
While parts of Luzon are still reeling from the damage wrought by Super Typhoon Carding, 2 weather disturbances have been spotted in the Philippine area of responsibility as of today. To give us the latest, we have with us live via Zoom Pag-asa weather specialist Denison Estareja. Good evening, Denny, and welcome to The Big Story.
Good evening, Robbie and Sean.
Benny, let's isa-isahin natin. Where is Tropical Depression Luis at this point?
Sa ngayon po, si Tropical Depression Luis ay nasa may Philippine Sea, pero mataas po ito nasa may parting east of extreme northern Luzon at around 1,060 kilometers east as of 4 in the afternoon. At sa ngayon po ay Tropical Depression ito, pero inaasahan po within the next few hours ay posibleng lumakas pa ito into a tropical storm. Pero ang maganda balita po about Tropical Depression Luis ay lalabas na rin ito ng ating Philippine Area of Responsibility papahilaga. Bukas po yan ng hapon.
Okay, so halos hindi naman sa man lang dadapli. So, but did I hear that right? That there's another weather system that we're monitoring as well?
Yes, meron pa po tayong isang weather disturbance, and this is a low pressure area na mas malapit po sa ating bansa, and that's around 425 kilometers east of Borongan City, Eastern Samar. And another good news is that within the next 24 hours po is possible din na mag-dissipate or malusaw na lamang ito dito sa may silangan ng Visayas.
Alright, Sir Benny, gusto ko lang itanong, no? Kasi medyo ganyan din yung update mo. Babalikan ko lang si TD Luis. Si Carding kasi ganun din, nasa east of extreme northern Luzon siya nung una, tapos bigla siyang bumaba, tapos biglang nagkaroon pa siya ng spontaneous or explosive intensification, which is, not something we hear every day. Wala bang mga ganyang surprises that's in the pipeline or it's possible na biglang magyari yan ulit?
Yes, we understand po the trust issues. Pero at this point kasi parang we are analyzing this weather disturbance like Tropical Depression Luis. Above the Tropical Depression po, mahina ang high pressure area. So from there on, makikita natin na papahilaga po siya dahil generally ang mga bagyo ayaw nila ng high pressure. Umiiwas sila dun sa mataas na pressure because they themselves have low atmospheric pressure.
All right, and for the rest of the week, heading into the weekend, may posibilidad ba, Benny, na makakita tayo ng isang sunny weekend for once?
Yes, for sure po. Maraming pagkakataon na magiging sunny naman tayo sa malaking bahagi po ng ating bansa. Ang prevailing weather system natin hanggang sa weekend is the easterlies. Ito yung hangin po galing sa Pacific Ocean. At ang mga maapektuhan po ng mga pag-ulan is yung eastern side of the country, itong facing po the Philippine Sea.
Okay, maraming salamat, Pag-asa Weather Specialist Denison Estareja. And right after another break, the UAAP is set to implement new features as it prepares to welcome its 85th season. That and more when The Big Story returns. Keep it here on One News.
Re-emerged after not being seen in public since earlier this month on his first foreign trip in more than 2 years. State media say Xi visited an exhibition in Beijing on Tuesday about China's achievements over the past decade. His absence was consistent with China's strict COVID protocols, which mandate 7 days of hotel quarantine followed by 3 days of home isolation. Saudi Arabia's 86-year-old king has appointed his son, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, to replace him as prime minister. The appointment formalizes Prince Mohammed as leader of the kingdom's government. He already oversees Saudi Arabia's major portfolios, including oil, defense, economic policy, and internal security. His father, King Salman bin Abdulaziz, remains head of state. More than 400,000 people have evacuated their homes in central Vietnam ahead of the arrival of Typhoon Noru. The strongest storm the country has seen in 2 decades is due to make landfall Wednesday morning, bringing heavy rain and potentially flash floods and landslides. Officials say the typhoon also threatens to delay harvests in the world's second biggest coffee producer. Vice President Kamala Harris is planning a trip to the demilitarized zone dividing North and South Korea. Harris will make the visit on Thursday, becoming the first senior White House official to visit the DMZ during President Biden's tenure. Harris is also scheduled to hold a bilateral meeting with South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol, where regional security is expected to top the agenda. Global News 24 hours a day on air and on Bloomberg Quick Take, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Vonnie Quinn. This is Bloomberg.
AP Showbiz Minute. The 10th anniversary of the Global Citizen Festival, which included performances from Metallica, Mariah Carey and Usher, generated more than $2.4 billion in commitments to fight extreme poverty and disease. International leaders announced new policies at the festival on Saturday, influenced in part by global citizen supporters. A Krakow councilman says the Polish city cancelled gigs by Pink Floyd co-founder Roger Waters because of his sympathetic stance toward Russia and its war against Ukraine, and he invited the singer to join him on a visit to Ukraine to see the extent of Russian crimes. 2 Waters concerts had been scheduled for April before being cancelled. The councilman is leading a symbolic resolution to declare Waters persona non grata in Krakow. Stars from both sides of the Atlantic turned out for the Burberry fashion show in London Monday. Stormzy, Daniel.
You're still watching The Big Story here on One News. For the big story in sports, the eldest son of former 8th Division World Champion Manny Pacquiao is slowly building a career in boxing. Mobile journalist Kyla Macantan gives us a front seat to the story.
Boxing must definitely be in the bloods of the Pacquiaos. After hanging his boxing gloves, former 8th Division World Champion Manny Pacquiao is now in full support mode for his son Emmanuel Jimuel Pacquiao Jr. This as the 21-year-old Jimuel began his boxing career in the United States. But if you were to ask Pacman and his wife Jinkee, this wasn't something they had hoped for. But just this past month, Jinkee herself witnessed Jimuel's fight in Montebello, California, where the younger Pacquiao was victorious. As for the former senator, although he supports his son's fight, Pacquiao says he doesn't want to watch it live.
Boxing ka, kung mag-champion ka, okay. Kung hindi, sige, kung gusto mo yan. Eh, nakita ko yung last fight niya, improving naman yung style.
Hindi mo naman pinilit mag-boxing.
Hindi, ayaw ko nga eh.
Oo.
Kaya hindi ako nanonood eh.
Mas nagets talaga. Okay, naintindihan mo na yung nanay mo ngayon.
Jimuel had already won his first bout last March during an amateur boxing match in the U.S. Coach Marvin Samodio, who was also part of Pacman's training team, has been helping Jimuel in his training. But if you ask Pacman what he thinks about Jimuel entering the professional world of boxing,
pag mag-professional siya, kung gusto niya talagang kung hindi ko mapigil mag-professional siya, hindi na pa pwedeng ibang mag-training. Magturo sa kanya, ako mismo ang magturo.
Yeah.
Kasi gusto ko i-download yung mga alam ko sa boxing na talagang matitindi.
Yeah.
Mobile journalist Kyla Macantan, we are One News.
And here's another big story in sports. There will be new features in the 85th season of the UAAP, which will tip off on Saturday, October 1. In the league's press conference on Wednesday, UAAP Basketball Commissioner Dickie Bachman said they will be implementing the Coach's Challenge system for the tournament. Season 85 will likewise see the return of the highly anticipated sporting events like football, swimming, tennis, and baseball. And as COVID-19 restrictions continue to ease in the country, UAAP fans can now enjoy their favorite sports games untethered.
I qualified 100% kasi the areas behind the benches still considering the health and safety of the student athletes, hindi pa rin i-occupy ng general public. But safe to say, the patron will now be open for the public. So qualified, quote-unquote, 100%.
And that's the big story tonight. For more updates, follow News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. You may also log on to onenews.ph for more analysis. Ako po si Robbie Alampay.
The big story is also available via Signal Play. Make a free account now at signalplay.com and stream One News anytime, anywhere. I am Sean Yao. Stay safe, Philippines.
We are One News. All sides, all the time.